This is our annual review of the procedures that all school employees must use for helping students that we suspect may be abused or neglected. This brief training reviews what child abuse and neglect is and what to do when you suspect that a child is being or has been abused or neglected. Abuse is defined as any willful act or threatened act that results in any physical, mental, or sexual injury or harm that causes or is likely to cause the child's physical, mental, or emotional health to be significantly impaired. Abuse of a child includes acts or omissions. Corporal punishment, such as spanking of a child by a parent or legal custodian for disciplinary purposes, does not in itself constitute abuse when it does not result in harm to the child. Signs of physical abuse are the most obvious. These are things such as bruises, cuts, burns, or welts that you may see on the student's body. A child may tell you directly that someone has hurt them. If a child witnesses domestic violence, this is considered child abuse and must be reported. Along with physical signs, a child who has been physically abused may be aggressive or may not be able to perform academically. Psychological abuse may show up as physical complaints, aggressive behaviors, or very passive behaviors. Psychological abuse may cause delayed development or perhaps failure to thrive. A child who has been sexually abused may complain of pain or itching in the genitals. They may report that someone has touched them in a bad way. A child may also demonstrate inappropriate sexual behaviors at school or talk about seeing sexually explicit materials. Neglect is defined as when a child is deprived of or is allowed to be deprived of necessary food, shelter, clothing, or medical treatment, or a child is permitted to live in an environment where deprivation or the environment causes the child's physical, mental, or emotional health to be significantly impaired or to be in danger of being significantly impaired. You may notice students who are constantly, chronically fatigued, hungry, or extremely dirty. You may become concerned if you know that caretakers are not addressing a student's medical or mental health needs. You may become aware that a parent is abusing substances and may be neglecting their child. In addition, the child may lack supervision for long periods. Chapter 39 of the Florida State Statute mandates that the hotline be contacted when any persons who knows or has reasonable cause to suspect that a child of any age is left home alone without adult supervision or arrangements appropriate for that child's age or mental or physical condition, so that the child is unable to care for their own needs or any other basic needs and is unable to exercise good judgment in responding to any type of physical or emotional crisis. The hotline counselor will assess the information provided in the call and make a determination of the report acceptance or non-acceptance based on statutory criteria. Since teachers are professionally mandated reporters, you are required by law to provide your name when reporting, but it is kept confidential. Access to the reporter information is available to those professionals who directly are involved with the child or adult protective investigations. If you believe someone you made a report about has obtained reporter information inappropriately, then please contact the county's Protective Investigation Office where the investigation is being handled and speak to the Protective Investigations Supervisor or you may contact the Client Relations Coordinator in your county to file a complaint. Since you have firsthand knowledge of the alleged abuse, you need to make that report. Do not rely on another person to do it for you because it becomes secondhand knowledge. You do not have to investigate or prove your suspicions. Any person who knows of abuse and fails to report or prevent another from reporting is guilty of a felony of the 3rd degree. There are 3 ways to make a report, including via the telephone, fax, or online. All calls made to the Florida Abuse Hotline are recorded. Web reporting should not be used for situations requiring immediate attention. Please contact the hotline's toll-free reporting number if you believe a child is in imminent risk of harm. When reporting, be prepared to provide specific descriptions of the incidents or circumstances contributing to the risk of harm, including who was involved, what occurred, when and where it occurred, why it happened, the extent of the injuries sustained, what the victims said happened, and any other pertinent information. Describe your concerns in as much details as you can. Gather as much information as you can when you call the abuse hotline. The counselor will then make a determination based on the information you have available at the time of the call. However, it is most beneficial to have the following information available readily when you make a report: the name of the child, Social Security number, date and birth or approximate age, race and gender for all adults and children involved, addresses or another means to locate the subject of the report, including current information regarding disabilities and/or limitations of the victim, relationship of the alleged perpetrator to the child, potential risks to the investigator. The Florida Abuse Hotline will accept a report when there is reasonable cause to suspect that a child who can be located in Florida or is temporarily out of the state but expected to return in the immediate future has been harmed or is believed to be threatened with harm from a person responsible for the care of the child. Prior to concluding each call, the hotline counselor is required to inform each caller if the report was accepted or not. Sometimes the Department of Children and Families will not accept the report if they feel the information does not warrant investigation. Remember, you are not responsible for the outcome, just for reporting your suspicions. When a report is not accepted, the hotline counselor may provide appropriate referral information to the caller so their concerns can be addressed by the appropriate entity. Fax reporters will only be notified if they request notification in the designated area on the fax reporting form available online. Any person who reports a case of child abuse or neglect may, at any time he or she makes the report, request that the department notify him or her that a child protective investigation occur as the result of the report. Teachers may request a written summary of the outcome of the investigation. The department shall mail a notice to the reporter within 10 days after completing the child protective investigation. At the end of every call, counselors are required to ask reporters if they would be willing to participate in a customer satisfaction survey. You may include your compliments or complaints at the conclusion of each call as a part of the survey. If the counselor does not transfer you to the survey, or if you would like to speak with someone directly, you may ask to speak to the hotline supervisor or call center manager. If the supervisor or manager cannot resolve your concern, then you may call the hotline's administrative number, 1-850-487-6100, and ask to speak to the operations manager or the director of the hotline. The Florida Abuse Hotline submits all reports to the appropriate investigative office within 1 hour after the call to the hotline ends. Once the report arrives at the investigative office and is assigned to a reporter, the investigator has up to 24 hours to initiate contact with the subject of the report. In situations in which it is believed the victim is in imminent risk of harm, the investigator will respond as soon as possible. Anyone reporting in good faith shall be immune from any civil or criminal liability. Any persons who knowingly and willingly makes a false report or counsels another to make a false report is guilty of a felony of the 3rd degree, punishable by up to 5 years in prison. In addition, DCF may impose a fine not to exceed $10,000 for each violation. Each time that a false report is made constitutes a separate violation. A false report is the report of child abuse, neglect, or abandonment, or adult abuse, neglect, or exploitation that is made to the Central Abuse Hotline, which is not true and is maliciously made for the purpose of harassing and embarrassing or harming another person, personal financial gains for reporting the person, acquiring custody of a child or vulnerable adult, or personal benefit for the reporting person in any other private dispute involving a child or vulnerable adult. It's normal to feel nervous about making an abuse report. If you need help, please don't hesitate to ask for your school counselor, school social worker, school psychologist, or administrator to assist. Thank you for helping us keep our students safe and healthy.